Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, what's going on, buddy?
Happy 5th of July.
Yes, same to you, sir.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, America, a day late.
Happy birthday, America. You know, the other thing that's interesting, I mean, a lot of people that listen know this. You're only a day older, but you're reporting out to the world that you're a year older. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that an interesting little sort of paradigm?
Yeah. Yes, if you say so, it is. It is.
I mean, one day you're one age, and the next day you're the next.
Boom. Yeah, you're right.
Bam, just like that.
Yeah.
All right.
It's kind of weird to think about.
Yeah, I thought I'd get you with that one.
That's deep, man.
Happy birthday yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Brian's birthday is on the 4th of July.
Woohoo!
What kind of goodness is that?
That's I gotta say, man, it's a good birthday to have. I mean, any birthday is a good birthday to have because that means you're here on this planet.
But
so that's a good day.
I would say that the three biggies for me, and you got one of them: 4th of July, Christmas, and Easter. Those are all sort of, in my view.
I'd throw some other ones in there too, like St. Patty's Day. That's a pretty damn cool birthday.
Yeah, I agree. But that's always the same. It's always the same day, right? Or isn't that the first Tuesday or something?
No, it's always the 17th of March. I do believe. Your Irish ancestors are rolling over in their freaking graves now, Kevin. What the hell?
Yes, they are. Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, here we are again. I have a question for you today.
All right.
To get started. Do you like duck?
Do I like duck?
Yeah.
So, are we talking about a food? We talking, like a sport? Maybe duck hunting? What?
I was primarily talking about food, but yeah, we could do duck hunting.
Yeah.
As well. I mean.
So I'd say yes to both. Although I've not in my lifetime eaten a whole lot of duck.
Okay.
But the times that I have a fond recollection of that experience.
You do.
Same with duck hunting.
And what do you remember about the flavor and
it's funny. It's making me salivate just thinking about it. And just in general, food is good.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that I have any specific recollections.
All right.
What makes you ask a question like that about ducks or about duck in general?
Have you ever eaten eagle?
No, I don't even have to think about that. I'm certain. Isn't like eagle, the bald eagle, isn't that a protected species?
Yeah.
So even if I had, I don't think I'd own up to it on this recorded format. No, I have not eaten eagle or ever been presented with the opportunity.
I've never heard of anybody who has.
Neither
I
have
suppose if I were starving and an eagle was roadkill, maybe I'd eat it. But
yeah.
But I'm not starving, and I'm not sure I've ever seen an eagle on roadkill either. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, no, I think they're smarter than that.
Anyway, you're not tracking with me on all this, are you?
No, I don't. I think maybe I am. We're just kind of, it's not the most direct route to get there, or maybe it is. I don't know.
It's pretty direct.
Yeah.
If you know where we're going.
Okay.
But if you don't, I'm teasing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like we're gonna have a discussion about ducks and eagles.
Yes.
What the hell?
How was that? Long and winding road to get there.
Yeah, I think it was pretty indirect.
Okay.
Pretty indirect way to get there.
I'm just teasing you.
It's all good, man. Yeah, so let's talk about ducks and eagles.
Yeah. I'm excited about this topic. That story, probably everybody in the world's heard that story before except me.
Or a variation thereof, or certainly I've heard the term or that leadership lesson or life lesson about, being a duck or being an eagle and the difference between the two. So yeah, it's a cool story.
Yeah, I'm glad you introduced me to it, and I look forward to discussing it. And the story that you're about to read, everybody, to sort of place all this in context, it really did. It blew me away.
Yeah.
And it made me want to immediately start to think about what choices in my life can I make to sort of emulate this approach.
Yeah. And that's the power of this story and any story like it.
Right.
Or any lesson, that we can take away from experiences or information that others share is, looking at it through that lens.
Right.
What can we learn from this? What can we take away? What can we do different in our life as a result?
Right.
So yeah, I would ask that folks listen or watch and listen with that as the intent. All right, so bear with me here. I'm gonna read this little story about ducks and eagles. This actually came, although it was something that I had heard in times past. This came to light here recently with a text message that my father sent me with this story.
Okay.
And then I shared it with you and thought it'd be a cool thing to talk about on the podcast. So it's a little bit lengthy, and at the same time, it's a cool story. So,
but I do think you need to read the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's the powers in the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can't, other than my father sharing this text message with me, I don't know who the author of this originally was, so I can't give them a shout out. But I'm sure if you do some searches, you'll figure that out. But anyways, here we go. I was waiting in line for a ride at the airport when a cab pulled up. The first thing I noticed was the taxi was polished to a bright shine, smartly dressed in a white shirt, black tie, and freshly pressed black slacks. The cab driver jumped out and rounded the car to open the back passenger door for me. He handed me a laminated card and said, "I'm Wasu, your driver. While I'm loading your bags in the trunk, I'd like you to read my mission statement." Taken aback, I read the card. It said, "Wasu's mission statement: to get my customers to their destination in the quickest, safest, and cheapest way possible in a friendly environment." This blew me away, especially when I noticed the inside of the cab matched the outside, spotlessly clean. As he slid behind the wheel, Wasu said, "Would you like a cup of coffee? I have a thermos of regular and one of decaf." I said jokingly, "No, I'd prefer a soft drink." Wasu smiled and said, "No problem. I have a cooler up front with regular and Diet Coke, lassi, water, and orange juice." Almost stuttering, I said, "I'll take a lassi," since I'd never heard or had one before. Handing me my drink, Wasu said, "If you'd like something to read, I have Good Housekeeping magazine, Reader's Digest, the Bible, and a travel and leisure magazine." As we were pulling away, he handed me another laminated card. "These are the stations I get on my radio and the music they play, if you'd like to listen." And as if that weren't enough, he also told me that he had the heater on and asked if the temperature was comfortable for me. Then he advised me of the best route to my destination for that time of day, and he also let me know that he'd be happy to chat and tell me about some of the sights along the way, or if I preferred, to leave me alone with my own thoughts. "Tell me, Wasu," I was amazed and just had to ask him, "have you always served customers like this?" Wasu smiled in the rearview mirror. "No, not always. In fact, it's only been in the last 2 years. My first 5 years of driving, I spent most of my time complaining like all the rest of the cabbies do. And then I heard about power of choice one day. Power of choice is that you can be a duck or an eagle. If you get up in the morning expecting to have a bad day, you'll rarely disappoint yourself. Stop complaining. Don't be a duck. Be an eagle. Ducks quack and complain. Eagles soar above the crowd." "That hit me right," said Wasu. He continued and said, "It's about me. I was always quacking and complaining, so I decided to change my attitude and become an eagle. I looked around at all the other cabs and the drivers. The cabs were dirty, the drivers were unfriendly, and the customers were unhappy. So I decided to make some changes. I put in a few at a time, and when my customers responded, well, I did more. I take it that's paid off for you, I asked. Or I said, it sure has, Wasu replied. My first year as an Eagle, I doubled my income from the previous year. This year, I'll probably quadruple it. My customers call me for appointments on my cell phone and or leave a message on it. Wasu made a different choice. He decided to stop quacking like ducks and start soaring like eagles. I hope we all decide to soar like an eagle and not quack like a duck. And I read that and I was like, yeah, I got to send this to Kevin. This is just and again, I'd seen something to this effect before, or that phrase, be an eagle, not a duck. And I just, man, you sit there, you read that, and it's almost like a smack in the forehead, because it should be that freaking obvious.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's that exceptional when you see somebody that's operating like that. Or when you as a customer have an interaction or an experience with somebody like that, it's an exception.
Something that is so outstanding that it just you want more of it. And having lived in New York City for a couple years and knows what it means to flag down a taxi and just live that life, if that were to have ever happened to me, I would have wanted that guy's card, and I would have said, anytime I'm going anywhere, I'm going to call you first to see if I can get you. Chances are I wouldn't be able to. But such a simple thing, right? It's anything that he did there that he talks about was not difficult.
No.
Not at all.
Probably, very low cost.
Right.
Adding some coffee in there, maybe some soft drinks and so on. A little bit for laminating some cards, and very, very low cost.
Right.
And to double and be on track to quadruple his income seems like a no-brainer.
I mean, how many times in a large metropolitan area do you see the taxi line with cabs and their drivers lined up for like long periods of time?
Oh yeah.
So long that they're out of their cars talking to each other,
Yeah.
having conversations. I bet that never happens with this guy.
Because he's probably going from one appointment to the next and not standing in those lines waiting for the next fare, because he's exceptional and people are calling him directly, and he's probably booked from the start of his shift till the end.
And he's just going, and in addition to that, the tips. I mean, people will get out of that cab ride and they'll want to double or triple or quadruple the typical tip. So yeah, I mean that was, and I if I've heard that story before in my life, I certainly don't remember it, and for whatever reason this time it hit me.
Yeah.
And it really got through, and it made me ask, and I'll just ask generally to everybody out there and to you and I, what can you do in your life that makes that kind of difference? And in his case, he tried some things and then tried some more things and then tried some more things. And I think that's kind of the best way to do it, because if you try to do it all at once, he probably tried some things that didn't work and said, all right, I won't do that.
Yeah, and that's the smart way about it, right?
Right.
Don't have a myopic approach where you think what everybody's going to want, and you try to flood that out there, because that doesn't always work. Right. You got to be responsive. Throw a few things out there, test the waters, and give them more of what they like and less of what they don't respond to.
Right. Just keep doing that until you arrive at this point that he's talking about. And I was recently told a story that has the same kind of principle by my daughter just a few days ago.
Right.
And I'm going to brag on Wegmans here for a minute, because they're the ones who did it.
All right.
But it was actually quite remarkable. She went into Wegmans and she was shopping, and then I don't know exactly where she bought it, but I think it was at the counter where you can buy one-of-a-kind items or whatever, and she bought some sort of chocolate chip cookie or something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, a box of it. It was just a single cookie that she could eat while she's walking or when she got back to her car, out of the store, whatever. So she gets home, cookie's gone by this point, and her phone rings, and it's Wegmans. And they say, hey, we know that we sold you a cookie that was chocolate chip, but we found out that there might be little bits of nuts in it from a previous batch of cookies that was
Right.
made.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make sure that you were aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's remarkable, actually, because you imagine they had to know. She bought the cookie, they got informed somehow, and they immediately took action to notify. And it's not like it came in a box. It was just an individual cookie at the cookie bar, whatever, wherever you get that at Wegmans. I don't know where you get it, but that was impressive, and it came quick. And she's not allergic to nuts. So
I was gonna say with that particular scenario, they need to act quickly, because if somebody bought it thinking it didn't have any nut-related stuff in it, and turns out it did, that could have some pretty drastic consequences for somebody that has an allergy.
Right. But we kind of live in this day and age that, let's say that was the case, that that they chose not to call or whatever, which I think is what the choice that most people would make in those circumstances, and then they just deny it. I mean, that's it. Just deny it. Didn't happen. You can't prove it. It's just.
Turns out I didn't eat all that cookie.
Right.
But right. But no, I think that's responsible on their part, and I think that's a proper way to conduct themselves. Yeah. I've always heard good things about that line or that chain of stores, anyways.
About Wegmans, yeah. I've had a lot of good experiences there. Another one, I was reading an article actually about a week ago about ChickfilA. And ChickfilA was selected for the 8th year in a row as America's favorite restaurant, favorite place to go out to eat.
Yeah.
Now think about that. Think about the competition. Think about all of the places that are out there that people can choose.
Right.
And consistently for 8 years in a row, Americans are choosing Chick-fil-A as the most favorite place to go.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think it speaks to who they are as an organization, their values, and the way they show up.
Right.
And I don't visit a lot of Chick-fil-A's. I do go to the one closest to where I live frequently, and I don't know if they're all designed the same way, but one of the things that jumps out at me about this particular location is the efficiency of the real estate that they have there. Because they get slammed with a large volume of folks rolling in there for the different meal hours, especially the evening meal. And it looks, when you first roll into the parking lot, it looks like, man, this is just a complete and utter cluster.
Right.
And by the time you roll out of the parking lot, you're like, wow, this is a well-oiled machine. They actually know what they're doing here. It looks like a cluster, but it's not. It's working. And I think maybe we could utilize some of those folks to maybe take a look at the traffic congestion we have in different places here in this region. They might be able to offer some productive suggestions on making that better, because they certainly have it going on over here.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And they made the conscious choice, which each one of us can do in our lives and in our duties and responsibilities,
right,
and in our businesses, to say, what can we do that's different? What can we do that's better? The phrase from Chick-fil-A, I've never worked there, but you've heard it so much that my pleasure. Right. They're always saying that. My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. It's such a pleasant greeting or response that they're glad that you're there. And then you're right, you pull up in the drive-through, and there's these, well, I won't say army, but a number of placed typically young folks with their tablets doing their thing, and I mean it's moving.
Yeah, they get it done, no doubt. I'm laughing about the whole my pleasure thing, because Charlie, my oldest granddaughter, has picked up on that, and she's learned it from Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
Yeah. So she'll say, you'll say something to her, thank you for this, and my pleasure.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't even have to ask her where she learned that, because we know she loves Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, then I started thinking about, okay, how can I do this in my life? How can we do that with this podcast?
That's a great question.
It is, and I'm sure we'll take that on.
Yeah.
But it's so fresh and new to be reminded that what's different about your life that you could add to a circumstance. I'm trying to think of what are some of the ways that we could do it in our. I mean, again, it's back to your everyday at your job. What could you do at your job that captures the attention? Maybe it's the way you dress.
Right.
Maybe it's the way that you greet people. I thought of that when you say my pleasure, or maybe it's the way you, whatever. You do that, and all of a sudden you start kind of rising to the top a little bit.
Yeah.
And try that, and if it works, okay, now let me add another thing.
Yeah, and just thinking about the whole, mission statement idea that he implemented. Lots of companies have, vision or mission statements. And I would ask folks if you have one, do you have your own personal vision or mission statement for your life or how you intend to show up for people at work? Because while I think that whatever your mission statement is, it should certainly align with the organization that you're affiliated with. I also think that you have an opportunity to create one yourself that really calls out how you're going to show up. And I'm not saying that you necessarily have to have, a laminated card that you hand out to people when you're talking with them. And at the same time, I think it creates a mental framework that you will operate within when you establish that and have that committed to memory. And I think it'll help you show up in a better and more consistent way potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that idea. And of even if you have it in your head, put it down in writing,
right,
and make it real. And I may have this story off a little bit, but I don't think so. Andrew Carnegie, when he died, do you know about his mission statement? He had a
refresh my memory.
Yeah, and when you look back at his life, you will see this is exactly how he lived. He had an envelope in his desk that was, I don't know if it was sealed or not, but after he died and they were cleaning out his stuff, they found this envelope in his desk and they opened it up and they read this piece of paper that had one line on it. I'm going to spend the first half of my life making all the money that I can, and I'm going to spend the second half of my life giving it all away.
Yep.
And that's what he did. You look at his life, that is exactly what he did. And he did a lot of good with the money when he spent it during the second half of his life. And he gave very little to his family, to carry on, very little to his children,
right,
comparatively speaking. I think his quote was, I'm going to give them enough to be comfortable, but not wealthy kind of thing. And, whether or not you agree with that or not, or you think that's right or not, doesn't matter.
It's his choice.
His choice.
His life, his choice.
His life, his choice. His mission statement.
Yep.
And, so not sure why that popped into my head, but
no, I think it's applicable.
Yeah.
And I'd encourage anyone that's listening or watching to ask yourself that question. How could you implement something like that in your life, whether it's your personal life, your work life, both? Certainly couldn't hurt.
Absolutely. And it does make a difference, and people notice, and even if it's just one little thing. What if Wasu, the only thing he did was hand out, and he probably started this way, I'm going to hand out my mission statement on a little laminated card. You can read it. I mean, you would have different expectations if that's all there was. If it was still a dirty cab, it was still, but I'm going to get you from point A to point B as quickly as possible in a pleasant environment. Okay. And you probably would just that one thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's going above and beyond any experience I've ever had in a cab. But then to take everything else that he did, it just puts him so far over the top and soaring above everybody else and not just sitting around there quacking like the rest of the ducks and complaining. So, yeah, it's good stuff. And it's also, it speaks to it. It's about me, like he said. I have a choice, and I can do it different. I can get in line with all these other knuckleheads and be a part of the crowd that just pisses and moans and never offers any solution to problems or any ideas for changing the situation in a positive manner. Or I can take things into my own hands and do it better, do it different.
Stated another way that we haven't heard yet tonight, I could be a duck or I can be an eagle.
We haven't heard that tonight. Yeah. That's funny. Yep.
So I mean, how do you run a meeting at work? How are you as a program manager? How are you as taking care of your yard? Any number of things you could apply this to. So watch out, world. Here we come. We're doing it.
Yep. Not quacking like ducks.
Right.
And I'm sure you'll catch yourself. This is another one of those things that you can put in your memory banks and use it as a self-management tool, and be conscious of how you're showing up in different scenarios, and catch yourself when you're showing up like a duck, and dial it back and maybe change your course of action and rise above the crowd, soar like an eagle.
Choose to be exceptional. That is a choice.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. Every single day, every single moment, every single circumstance, you can choose to be exceptional. And it pays off, clearly. I mean, it's hard. It's more work in the beginning. Keep your cab clean. Get laminated cards. Think ahead and bring coolers full of soda and coffee. Thermoses with. I mean, that takes work.
Right.
It takes planning. It's not. It doesn't just happen. You don't just will it. Okay, now it's all. No.
That's kind of scary. What the hell was that?
I was willing it to happen. There we go.
That kind of scared me.
Yeah.
That wasn't any better.
Okay.
All right. So what else? What else we got to throw in here about this? I feel like we've covered it up one side and down the other.
That's right.
We've covered it from duck to eagle.
That's right.
Yep.
No, I'm good.
All right.
I've enjoyed it.
Well, thank you all for taking time to listen, and again, make your own self-evaluation, and ask yourself that question first thing in the morning when your feet hit the floor and you stand in front of the mirror. Look at that person in the mirror and ask yourself that question: what am I going to be today? Am I going to be a duck, or am I going to be an eagle?
Poor ducks. You're not getting the raw end of this deal, but you get the point.
I do.
Yeah, and give us some ideas about what topics you want to have covered as well. Continue to subscribe. Thanks for those who have, and anybody that has an idea for a podcast topic. We're going to be going through some changes here. We won't talk too much about that, but all going to be good.
Some changes. You going through menopause? What are you doing, Kevin?
Yeah, the hot flashes are finally getting.
Manopause, they call that, I think.
If when do you go through menopause?
I don't know. I'm kind of counting on you to let me know.
I don't know.
Because you're forging that ground before me.
Now that I've entered into the 60s, I'm probably past it.
I don't know.
All right.
I do not know enough about it.
Yeah.
But I'll count on your research.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna reach over here and hit this button and say something like this. No matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, make sure between this podcast and the next, you take time to enjoy the ride.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.